506 editor applications, 70 sent in relevant work. We reached out to 15 of them, ended up paying 10 of them, and only 4 of them actually got the video done on time. So we were actively trying to hire as many editors as possible, and we gave 0 objections, and even then, less than 1% managed to make it through. And while that sounds depressing, that should give you hope, because in today's day and age, with how many editors there are, it is so easy to stand out. My name's Sayeef. I've edited for some of the largest YouTubers in the world, and in this video, I'm going to explain the 5 mistakes to avoid when you're applying for editing roles. Number 1 is not sending in relevant work. We put a very specific question on the form, which is put your portfolio here. But the second question that we give is give a video that's most like the example that we want. And the reason we give this is you can basically tell within 3 to 5 seconds whether they're going to be good or not. But if it takes you 5, 10, 15 seconds to even find an example of that person's work, you're just going to bounce and go to someone else. So whenever you're applying, I always recommend, yes, give in your portfolio, but more importantly, send in a specific link to a video that's most like the person that you're applying for. The way social proof works, and if you don't know what social proof is, it's just, hey, I've done stuff for similar people like you, therefore you can trust, I can do it for you as well. What people forget is the closer and the more similar that proof is to the person that we're reaching out to, the more it's going to resonate and the more likely it is to convince them to actually buy. But how do you know which video of yours to send to the client if you don't have a video exactly in their niche or style? I like to call this the niching onion, where a lot of people see niches as I'm either in this niche or this niche. But the truth is, it's not which niche are you in, it's how niched are you. Because just by you calling yourself a video editor, which me and you both are, we've already niched down to some level. And now let's say we work in social media content, we've niched down another level. Let's say we both work on YouTube, that's another level. Within that, there's long form. Within that, there's different content genres. Like, it's not which niche, it's how niched. So you may not have the exact content genre, for example, Minecraft gaming videos or finance videos with talking head and this type of animations. You may not have the exact thing that that client wants, but you ask yourself which video of mine from my entire collection of past work is the closest in terms of content genre, so Minecraft, gaming, kids channels, finance, talking head, reaction videos, documentary, whatever the content genre is. In terms of style, what's the most similar? And in terms of the personality and demographic of that creator. For example, if you find someone who's a lot more charismatic, a lot more animated, not in terms of the actual animations in the video, but in terms of personality, you finding someone who you've worked with that's a lot more like that personality will actually resonate more when you share that video. And if you find someone's a lot more reserved, speak a lot more slowly, it would help if you find a creator that you've edited for who has that similar personality. So whenever you're applying to a role, pick videos that are as similar to what that creator wants. But none of this matters if we don't follow the next principle, and this one is going to make sure that the guys that actually have money want to hire you. So recently I applied for a role. It was a pretty small channel. The guy only has I think 30 to 35k subscribers, so tiny channel. But the thing is, the guy behind the channel, he makes around 2 to 3 million a month. So yeah, pretty big business, small channel. Now, when I'm trying to apply for this role, I have one thought in my head. And if you don't understand this, you're never going to be able to close clients who are actually making more money in order for them to pay you. These rich people want to save time. Now that means paying you to actually edit the videos, but more importantly, paying you to make good decisions for them, paying you to not have to ask them questions when it's unnecessary, and just overall, not only time saved in the edit, but time saved just in the relationship as well. So when I was closing this guy, I did it through a Loom outreach method. It's one of the methods that we teach in the editing-led program. I used that Loom outreach method for his job application. And by the way, the application doesn't even ask for a video or anything like that, but I decided to send it. I made sure that that video that I sent in was less than 2 minutes long. The hook was a banger, so he has a reason to keep watching. And I literally addressed the fact that, hey dude, I know you're a busy guy, so I'm gonna get this done within a minute or two. And if you hate me after that, feel free to not watch any other videos. By me addressing the fact that, yo, I know you're busy and I'm gonna respect your time, he in a weird way was okay with giving me more time than he otherwise would have. So that's exactly what the second mistake is when it comes to closing these bigger and bigger clients. You need to make sure that you're focusing on speed. That means speed in communication cycles. So for example, when we were hiring, there were about 10 people or 15, something like that, people who literally asked, can we pay you up front? We have the videos ready, we'll pay, whatever. And they took like 24, 36 hours to respond. In that time, we literally reached out to another 5 editors and paid them and hired them. So there was no need for that person anymore. Now, does this mean you need to spend every waking moment on your phone? No. But if you're seeing the text anyways, don't tell yourself, I'm gonna reply later, because oftentimes you don't. Instead, when you see the text, just reply to the text. And they've done studies on this where they were testing something called speed to lead, which means when someone comes into your funnel, like someone has contacted you to work with you, how quickly do you actually reply back to them? That's what you call speed to lead. And they tested the difference between replying to someone in 60 minutes, replying to someone in 5 minutes, replying to someone in 60 seconds. And what they found was by you replying within 5 minutes rather than 60 minutes, you get an X4 multiplier when it comes to how many responses you get. And to go from 5 minutes to 60 seconds, you get another 5x. So you could quite literally get a 25x in your close rate by simply responding to leads faster. And truthfully, after working with this guy that's making $2-3 million a month, it was my wake-up call to how much more faster these people move in business and in life. And it's clear why they get the results that they do. I'm gonna get a bit sidetracked here, but I wanna really drive this point home. When I was closing this guy, the $2-3 million a month guy, we had 5 messages back and forth. Not literally 5 messages, like sometimes we would break the text up, but 5 back and forths between us. And that was all it took to collect payment up front. It was a $700 project. And the thing is, he basically replied whenever I would reply, and I would do the same to him. Imagine I had like my head stuck up my ass saying, oh, I wanna not reply now because I'm too busy. When in reality, I'm on my phone doing bullshit anyways. Another way that I saw the amount of speed that this guy has and just rich people in general have, I gave him a piece of advice that I thought would work for the channel. Hormozi has this highlights channel. If you guys don't know Hormozi, he's a guy that makes over $250 million a year. And he tested this new content strategy, which he found actually brought in more than double the amount of revenue that he has from the main channel. I gave this new client the idea. And the next day we jumped on a call. And before we got started, he said, by the way, I know you talked about Hormozi's, that strategy Hormozi's doing. We've decided to action that straight away. We've hired this person, we've hired this team of people, and we've built out this custom AI built software in order to make that happen. So we're gonna be going full force with about 600 clips a month. Yeah, thank you for the advice. I'm like, holy fuck, it's been less than 24 hours and this guy has implemented what most people would take 2, 3, 4 months to do. I can see why this guy makes billions of dollars a month. But if you decide to use this speed principle, which I recommend you do, it's important you don't fall for this next mistake, which is closing too early. I had this experience while I was hiring editors for myself. So I've been on both sides of the coins. I've drew my own editing career, scaled past 10K a month. I've also hired editors for myself and for my clients. And during this recent hiring process, there was one editor where I paid him. No, sorry, I didn't pay him yet because he didn't have a way of me paying him. But anyways, he wanted to start a trial. And just as we were going back and forth, we just realized there were just too many problems. He didn't have a proper payment method for me to pay him with. He wanted to use a certain payment method. And it was like, the reason he gave me was because I want to buy a new keyboard and the sale ends in 3 days. Bear in mind, I've never worked with this guy before. I've never heard of him. So it was just super unprofessional. Then he had a problem with downloading the footage. And he asked me, is it cool if I just screen record the footage and edit it like that? I'm like, holy fuck, that's the worst thing I've ever heard. So I basically, after these 3 red flags, I said, you know what, let's just call off the trial, man. When we say trial, we mean full video, upfront, paid. We treat it like a normal video, we just call it a trial. I said, dude, let's just call it off because I don't think this is gonna work. Now, his response to that, in fact, for you watching, what do you think someone would reply when you say, hey, I don't think we should work together. Okay, maybe they're gonna try to overcome the objection. Maybe they're gonna like try to handle the thing that I said. This guy literally said, no, 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 bro. I'm gonna work on it anyways. Please don't let this be the reason that I can't work on it. I basically just like referred back to my previous message and I said, dude, it's not about your editing. I just don't think you're gonna be a good culture fit for the team. And he fucking told me he's gonna work on the video anyways. And I was like, dude, I feel like I'm dead ass getting raped into working with you right now. I didn't say that to him, but that's genuinely how it felt. And that's how it feels when you try to close a client too early into the process. While yes, there is validity in you moving the conversation along. In fact, I call it the A to Z framework, where when you first meet someone, they're at stage A, and your job is to get them from A to B to C, all the way up to Z, where they are a paying client. Now, what a good sales process looks like when you're applying to a role and taking them through that DM conversation is you naturally take them from A to B to C to D, where you kind of like get them to come to the logical decision that they should hire you, and then you go forward with that. But what this guy basically said was, hey, we're gonna try to go to B, so we're gonna try handle the footage part. You couldn't do that. We tried handling the payment part, you couldn't do that. So you're basically still at A or B. And you were like, fuck it, why don't you hire me? It's like, come on. And something important to notice about this A to Z framework, so we have to take people logically through each step in order to close them, is some people will come into the conversation a lot further ahead. For example, when I was hiring editors, I'm basically pre-sold. Like, as long as you're a good editor and you communicate on time and you don't fuck it up, like you don't do something ridiculously stupid, I was gonna pay you. Because in my opinion, like when we hire editors, and this might be useful for you if you're like eventually gonna scale into an agency and have your own editors, I prefer the volume hiring approach where we hire 5, 10 editors and whoever is the best, we hire those 1, 2, 3 people. Because naturally most people will fuck up the role. They'll miss deadlines, they'll not meet the expectations, whatever. Like most people fuck it up, so I'd rather hire lots of people and see who sticks rather than try one person, 80% chance they're shit, and then spend another 2 weeks hiring. We do the volume approach. So for me as a client, I'm coming in probably at like an F, a G, like really far into the sales process, but you still need to take me through the different steps. And especially if someone's coming in a lot earlier in the sales process, for example, let's say they aren't even replying to you because they want to actively hire you, they're just replying because they're kind of interested. You don't want to try close payment or try like get absolute certainty and confirmation that the fact that you're going to work together, or try to close a retainer when the guy hasn't even decided whether you're going to be able to do the work or not. Because it's only when someone has absolute certainty in the fact that you're going to be able to get the video done, the fact that you're going to get the video done on time, and the fact that you're going to be able to communicate with them clearly. When they have certainty on that, that's when money actually gets sent. The fourth mistake that editors make in the hiring process is only speaking in their interest. Whenever you state a reason for something happening, you can either speak about it in your interest or their interest. So if I said, hey, I want to get hired because I need the money. Now, you're probably not a retard watching this, so you're probably not someone that would write this in a job application. But you would be surprised how many editors do. Or they would do something with a similar principle, which is like, oh, I recently just got dropped by my client, that's why I need to take someone on. Or I like the style, that's why I want to do more of this. The thing is, all of these reasons that you are applying to the role with, the creator doesn't give a shit about. Like I mentioned that guy who I wanted to pay for an edit, but literally fucked it up with 3 red flags that he showed. One of them was when he was explaining why he wanted the role, he literally said, oh, I need the money right now. And it's like, okay, the last thing I would want is for someone who really needs the money and that's the only reason why they're working with me. What I would rather have is someone's like, hey, I'm financially like decent right now, I don't need to work with you, but me working with you, I just find it really fucking cool. In the same way, when I closed that guy who was making like $2 or $3 million a month, I know deep down I didn't need him, because truthfully, like it was a 10K a month base role. I'm already making that and more. So it's like, to me, it's like, it's an extra 10K, and he could feel through the looms, like I'm providing value on the looms, I'm giving off the vibe that I don't need the money, and that's why he wanted to hire me. So how are you supposed to frame like the reason that you're wanting to work with this person? You can always reframe a reason into something that's actually beneficial towards them. For example, if I'm late on a deadline, I'm not going to say, oh, it's because I had another client project and I burnt out. And woe is me. Because the client doesn't give a fuck. All they see is the video's late. But if I say, hey, here's the timeline, here's how the project currently looks, I have this idea, but it's gonna take one more day. Are you cool with me doing that because I think the video's gonna come out a lot better? Suddenly, them saying, no, why would you take that long? I can't believe you're late. They would feel silly saying that because it would be them actively trying to make the video worse. So it's in their best interest to give you longer because they know the video is going to come out better. In the same way, when we were saying like, hey, can you accept Stripe for payment? He was like, no, can you do this other payment method because I need a new keyboard and the sale ends in 3 days and Stripe payouts take too long. Instead of him saying that, he could have easily said, oh, this payment processor has less fees. And the funny thing is, I've used that way of closing people and like getting them to use the payment method that I want when I'm working with a client. And the truth is, I don't even know what the fees are. By me saying to the client like, hey, I use this payment processor because the fees are less, it's a believable reason and it's like in his interest because if I pay less fees and he pays less fees, he doesn't have to pay an extra on top just to make it worth it for both of us. So throughout the entire hiring process, but also when you've already been hired, ask yourself, whenever you're going to give a reason for something, can you reframe it in a way where the client's actually gaining from that thing rather than losing? When you're raising prices, instead of saying, hey, I'm raising prices, get fucked, instead it's, hey, I've really been enjoying how the videos are going. I've actually been getting a lot more busy, but I want to be able to work with you. My prices are this for other people right now, but I can do it for this right now because I've already been working with you. This will also mean that I can focus on your videos a lot more than anyone else's. By you putting the prices in their benefit, so, hey, I'm doing it for less for you, and I'm rewarding you for staying with me, and I'm gonna be able to focus on your videos, now it's in their benefit to actually pay you more. And the fifth mistake that so many editors make when going through a hiring process, and it's genuinely the reason why they get so many no's or rejections or even ghosted by clients, is because they're not problem solvers. Now, for most of these editors, the download process, the editing process went fine. But for the two of these editors, there was actually a problem with downloading the footage. One of them told me that, hey, the video's not downloading. And I was like, okay, like I'm sure he'll sort it out. Truthfully, I was in the middle of another meeting, so I kind of didn't reply to it in that moment. Now, when I came off that meeting, my thought is, okay, he's gonna have tried to solve it by then. So I give him a ring in order for us to try to solve it. And he literally tells me like, oh, I just haven't been working on it since. So I asked him, what did you try? And he literally said, oh, I haven't tried anything since telling you. And I'm like, okay, let's try this with this. He tried the solutions. It didn't work because there was a different thing that he had to do. And basically, unless I actively went to him to solve it with him, he wouldn't go and try solve it on his own. Now compare that to the second editor, one of the editors that we actually ended up hiring. This guy had the problem. It was at like 3 a.m. my time, I was asleep. And at 6 a.m., I see a message. It's him basically saying like, yo, I've tried this thing didn't work, but I'm gonna try this thing next. At 7 a.m., he said, oh, there's this potential solution, but I need you to give me access on here. And then 15 minutes later after that, he says, never mind, fixed it. Now put yourself into the client's shoes. If you see an editor who had a problem and he's communicating with you, first of all, what the problem is. Second of all, he's showing you that he's trying to solve it, so you have absolute certainty and confidence that the problem's getting solved. But third of all, he actually figures it the fuck out on his own. Compare that guy to the guy that just waits for you to solve it and just kind of sits there like an idiot. Who would you want to first of all hire, but more importantly, pay more? Of course, it's going to be the guy that can solve his own problems. Because here's the fact that no one talks about when it comes to editing, and more importantly, working with the top creators. At the highest levels of editing, everyone can edit. Everyone can make cool animations. Everyone understands attention. Everyone understands how to make a good fucking story. What people don't do is solve problems and use their initiative. At the highest levels, you're not paid for your editing skills. You are paid for your ability to figure shit out. For example, when I was editing for the Sidemen channel, they're a 20 million subscriber channel, and we have to pump videos out once a week. Their whole thing is Sidemen Sundays, so if we don't get a video out on Sunday, it's fucked for the brand. And because I was one of the last editors in the entire pipeline, I would just work on the VFX because that's what I enjoyed. Basically, if I didn't figure out a problem, it would put off the entire upload because the video can't go out until the VFX team have finished the VFX and actually given it in. So imagine if there's an editor on the team, they have like a problem with, oh, this thing keeps bugging out and this footage isn't importing correctly, it keeps coming up with this error code. Imagine they just messaged the team and they tried to get everyone to solve it, and now everyone's workflow is fucked and everyone's focus is fucked and it's like the video gets delayed. Like, we would never be able to get videos out on time. But because every single editor on that team is an A player, knowing that anytime there's a problem, they will figure it the fuck out. They'll find a way. They'll move fucking mountains to figure it out. It means that everyone figures out their own problem, meaning that everyone's life is easier, and that's why we get paid so fucking much. Because all in all, if you given relevant work, depending on the client, you make sure that you focus on speed and realize that rich people value their time. So if you want to attract rich people, we make sure shit moves fast. We don't try to close them too early. We make sure we speak in their interest and never our own. And finally, we become problem solvers who figure shit out when it goes wrong on our own. Ultimately, that's how you're going to have the highest possible chances to close pretty much any editing role that you want. Now, the only problem with this is editing job posts can be super unreliable, where maybe there's one a day, maybe there's 3, maybe there's none. But outreach, on the other hand, you have full control over how much you send and how many people you close. So go click on this video here, which is my entire outreach strategy for closing high-paying clients from A to Z. Go click on that video here.